All right, we might get started. I don't want to take too much of your time today, so thank you very much for joining us. For those who I haven't met, and for those who I have met but I've forgotten, my name is Aaron, and I'm the Communications and Engagement Manager here at SA Portable Long Service Leave. Today we are going to go through the online long service leave process that is now available through the worker portal. The change to the process occurred on the 13th of April, so we're a couple of weeks in, well, actually more than a couple of weeks, we're 4 weeks in. We had hoped that this process would make things a lot simpler and easier for everyone involved. Just as a heads up, in the chat, you will notice that I've chucked a link in there, or two links in fact, a link to an information sheet that guides you through the process, as well as a YouTube clip, which is a step-by-step video of this process on the worker portal. So you can watch that at any time you like. They are both on our website as well, under the resources tab, and I've also just linked our website onto the chat as well. Before I get too further down the line, I just want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. Today I'm on Kaurna land, and I pay my respects to the Kaurna people, and also pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with us today. So today is all about the online claims process, but I do want to just spend a couple of quick minutes on a couple of other things. So just to talk to you a little bit about key dates. I can't recall if I've updated that slide, so I'll talk to it as if we were in the current time frame. We'll go through the online claims process, and then at the end there, we'll just try and respond to any questions that you have. Because we've got a small group today, some of you might feel brave enough to put your hand up and ask the question in person, but if you do want to ask questions as we go along, chuck them in the chat. Mandy's going to be able to respond to you in the chat as we go. So if something is sticking in your mind once we've gone through it and you're not sure about something, chuck it in the chat and then we can revisit it at the end. So firstly, the timeline. As most of you should know, the scheme started on the 1st of October of last year. We've had 2 full quarterly reporting periods. We are currently in the 3rd reporting period, which is the 1st of April to the 30th of June. Most of the quarterly reporting for the January to March period should have been completed and the levy paid, which was due on the 21st of April for those who haven't done so. And as I said a little bit earlier, the online long service leave claims form or claims process went live on the 13th of April. Just importantly about why we've decided to change this, and simply it comes down to I guess having and making this as simple as possible for those who need to use it and for those who need to review any submissions. I guess I need to be really crystal clear in this space that any long service leave claims from the 13th of April onwards have to be made through the online process. We aren't accepting any manual forms anymore. If that is of, if you're having trouble with that or if you've got any concerns around that, please let us know. We do experience the odd exception to that, but we are trying to push everything through this online process. So simply, there's no more printing or scanning or walking your claim form over to your employer for them to complete their section. It's now all done online and trackable online as well. So the good thing is, I guess anyone who wants to submit a claim can do it from anywhere, from any time, at any time, from home or from the office, and they can track the progress of their claim live and see where the claim sits from the submission right through to when the payment is being made. Essentially, just trying to make everyone's life a lot easier than doing it manually. Before we ask those workers who are submitting a claim to get or make themselves a little bit organised before they start the process, are a couple of things. So what we've found now that we've moved into the online process is that in the past, workers haven't necessarily logged on to their worker portal prior to or beforehand. They essentially haven't needed to, but because of the online process now, that they absolutely will have to. So we're finding that some workers who were registered back after the 1st of October last year would have been sent a link to register, but have done nothing with it. So might need to request a new link. So when the worker logs onto the portal for the first time, they'll need to go through a few extra questions, and then it'll make it easier moving forward. The other thing that we're asking a couple of pieces of items or information is if the worker can have their tax file number available when they're completing the claims form. Well, I mean, this is not mandatory. However, if they do not provide us with their tax file number, they will be taxed at the higher rate other than their normal tax rate. So if they choose to not put their tax file number in, that's all right by us, but they need to know that they'll be taxed at the higher rate. And importantly as well, wherever the payment needs to go, we need bank details. So BSBs, account numbers, and account names. Just on the account name side of things, what we need to get is the bank account name that you have registered with your bank, not a name called a check account or a savings account. It has to be in the name of the person with the account. Just importantly, the most important part on this slide that I just want everyone to hear is that long service leave is based on calendar days. That hasn't changed from pre-scheme to current portable scheme. Any long service leave claims are based on a calendar day. So if you want a week of long service leave, that will equal 7 calendar days. It doesn't really matter if you work 4 days a week, 3 days a week, 9-day fortnight, whatever that is. If you want 1 week off of long service leave, and that might only be 2 working days, but if you want 1 week off of long service leave, you need to request 7 calendar days. The good thing is the online claim process does calculate that for you automatically, but just so everyone understands why that is 7 days, that's exactly the reason for it. So 1 week of long service leave is 7 calendar days. So as I said, the first page people are going to come to, the workers are going to come to, is the logon page. If this is the first time the worker is accessing the portal, they'll need to undertake those additional security checks, as I mentioned. They'll also need to complete that reCAPTCHA, and there will be an authenticator security part to this as well. So it's really important that the worker has an authenticator app on their phone that secures their information with the scheme. I know personally I don't want my data being breached or stolen, so having that authenticator app and that double checkpoint is really important, so we make sure that that is being used and we're talking to the right people and releasing information to the right people. So once you're logged in, you'll land on the worker portal dashboard, and this is what it currently looks like. This is essentially the home base for everyone, where you can see what service information has been recorded for the worker so far. Really important thing to note here right now is everything in green is portable long service leave. It does not show you on your dashboard your current long service leave accrued prior to the scheme starting. That's something we're currently working on. The information will be within the claims process. We are working on another little bucket there that might be coloured a little bit differently that does show the balance of the state long service leave accruals prior to the scheme starting. So yes, so if anyone asks the question, the green sections are portable long service leave only. So these are really important figures for us and for the worker when they're doing the claim form. I guess the balances give the worker an understanding of how much they have available to take. And then once we've got that state long service leave bucket on there as well, to make it even a bit more easier, that'll show that as well. If you've got any questions or concerns about the balances not being correct, I wouldn't panic. I would simply go and have a chat to your employer because the data that shows on the worker portal is the data that we've received from the employer, either through the state long service leave return form or the quarterly periodic return form, which is submitted every three months. If everything seems okay, and like I said, you've got some pre-scheme service, some state long service leave available to take, you're ready for the next step. So what you would do at the next step is under the forms tab just at the top there. This is the way to actually start the claim form. It's a straightforward select the long service leave claim option. And you'll see a number of other ones there, but if you're making a claim, it's the long service leave claim section there. And this is where you'll start the process and enter all your details. The next question you'll see is what claim type you want to make. The three claims that are predominantly the ones that we're managing at this point in time are a long service leave claim, which is where a worker wants to take time off work, go on a holiday or spend some time doing something else other than working. So they want to take some time off work. The long service leave cash out is when the worker wants to cash out their leave in lieu of taking time off. And the termination payment is when the worker is leaving all their jobs in the community services sector and want to cash out everything. The other two down there for self-employed contractors and working directors, we won't go into that today, but if you do have any questions about those two claims, please reach out to us. So what we are going to focus today essentially is on the long service leave claim, where someone wants to take time off work, and we'll go through that quickly step by step. So really important that you do select the right claim type. I guess, not errors, but any selections that you make that are later, you decide that is not the process that you wanted to go down, will obviously result in some delays to your claim request. So what we would suggest is it's not something that we would rush you through. We want to make sure that you understand exactly what you're selecting and completing, and you have an understanding of each description. If you are unsure, stop, pause, give us a call or send us an email just to double check on what you want to do. Step 4 brings us to the eligibility questions, and these are yes and no checks just to confirm the worker can make the claim. The first one there is whether or not the worker sits under an enterprise agreement that allows them to take leave prior to reaching the standard 10-year long service leave timeframe. If the worker does sit under an EA that allows them to take leave earlier, there will be another subsequent question pop up underneath that. And all that does is ask the worker to enter what that enterprise agreement document is called. So the name of the EA, if the worker doesn't know what the name is, it's just a quick chat with their payroll team just to get an understanding of what it's called. It just allows us to do a search on that document or have a review of that document that we may have already received just to confirm that that is actually correct. So if they don't sit under an EA, simply press no, and it's standard years that they are accruing before they can take long service leave. The next one can be a little bit mistaken. So we'll just run through this quickly with you. So the question says, have you been employed with your current employer for more than 7 years? So when we first came out with this question, it was around the time frame of the transition from the old scheme, old state long service leave process to the portable long service leave scheme. So it really relates to the transition from pre-scheme to the portable scheme. Recognise that we're now, what are we, 7 months into the scheme, and some people may have accrued a 7-year service with an employer over that transition period, but have then since left and moved on to a new employer. So what I have been telling everyone around this question is just think of this question when you worked out that when you swapped over from the old scheme to the portable scheme, and if they do have leave to take, it's generally because they have got 7 years of service accrued. So I would check yes, even though you might not be working with them today, you did when you worked with them over the transition period. Pretty obvious. If you select no, you have not been employed, it will generally mean that you are not eligible to make a claim at this time. A worker is required to have accrued at least a minimum of 84 months of service with their employer to be eligible for some sort of claim. I guess these questions really protect you and the team here at this scheme, just to make sure that we are ensuring the forms are correct, and just to avoid delays that can occur when we have been provided with information that's not correct. The next section, and as I alluded to earlier, is the tax file number section. I don't think I need to say any more about this one, to be honest. If you don't enter a tax file number in this section, which again you don't have to, you will be charged, or you will have to pay the higher tax rate, and it will be withheld instead of your current rate. So if it was me, I'd put my tax file number in and ensure that my taxes, that I am taxed at the correct rate. The next little one there is the residency status. So really it just confirms you're eligible for Australian tax rates. Select yes if you are, then we'll go on to the next section. Okay, so this is an important part of the process. So this part of the claims process online is called employer details. And essentially it refers to what state long service leave the worker has accrued before the scheme started. So when we were at the dashboard section, I mentioned that your state long service leave will be captured somewhere, and this is exactly where it's captured for the time being. So if your employer has submitted their state long service leave one-off return, just acknowledging and sharing with the scheme how much each of their workers has accrued prior to the scheme starting, then all of the data will be on this page. If a worker has multiple employers and they are accruing long service leave with multiple employers, they'll have one of these employer details for each of their workers each of their employers, that they work for. So it's really important that you know, if you are taking long service leave, that you take it from the right employer for state long service leave for leave you've accrued prior to the scheme starting. There's another important part to this around the salary sacrifice arrangement with the employer. What we found in this sector is, yes, there is a lot of salary sacrifice arrangements in place. I believe that there are some benefits to do so. So if there is a salary sacrifice component that you'd like to be paid, you would select yes, that you do have a salary sacrifice arrangement with your employer, and that you do want a specified amount paid to your employer that then would be treated as if they would be passing on to their salary sacrifice provider, like they would normally do with any other circumstance. So important here is that if you do have a salary sacrifice arrangement and you do want an amount paid, that you select yes, and then in the salary sacrifice amount section just here, tell us how much that is to be paid to your employer, and the scheme will pay it to your employer, and then the employer will pay it to your salary sacrifice provider like they would normally. Here is where your state long service leave balance is shown. So in this case, this worker has 13.9143 weeks of long service leave available from this employer. You would enter your first day of leave and then your last day of leave, and then automatically the system will calculate how many days of leave that is. Now, remember what I said earlier around the 1 week equals 7 days. So if you work 2 days a week and you put your first day of leave on the first day that you normally work, you do have to capture a full week's worth of leave in that section. So you can't just put a 2-day section. It has to be a week's worth. I don't know if the system chucks a little error system back at you if you do that. Mandy might want to fill me in on that. Oh, it does. Thank you, Mandy. Yeah, so it will chuck an error back at you if it doesn't recognise that full week. But if you do see that error and you're wondering why, it's generally because you haven't selected enough days to equate to that 1 full week. So again, you might want to claim long service leave with multiple employers. So you would do, or you'd submit a first day of leave and last day of leave with each of your employers. Don't be silly like me when I first did this as a tester. I put the same dates in for the same employer, and the system wrote back to me and said, "You're an idiot, Aaron. Make sure that you're actually following a sequence of days." And not requesting the same days off from different employers. So one of these employer details will show for each of the employers that the worker works for. So if you've got 2 or 3 jobs that you work, you'll generally have 2 or 3 of these employer details on the worker claim form online. So I guess what we're trying to do is make sure that you're claiming exactly what you have accrued and with each of those employers. The next section, this is where the portable long service leave details are listed. So it's distinguishably different by the name of it. So portable long service leave details in this section. For most of the workers over the last 7 months, they would have obviously accrued 2 quarters of long service leave service. So there wouldn't be a huge amount of portable leave that they have available to take, but this is where it would be listed. So in this scenario, as you can see, this worker has 1.3 long service leave weeks accrued. There is a estimated rate of pay just over here on the right hand side that we've been advised of from the employer. And if the worker wants to take a combination of the state long service leave, which we just went through, and portable long service leave, they would fill in this section as well. Again, the dates need to be consecutive, so they would enter the first day of leave and the last day of leave, and the system will automatically calculate how many days of leave that is. Now we talk about 1 week being the minimum amount of long service leave you can take, which absolutely is the case. But it doesn't stop someone taking 8 days or 9 days and so forth. The minimum is 8 days of leave. What we ask the worker to do next is just to double check the weekly rate of pay that I pointed out earlier, just up here. If it looks correct, it's a simple yes selection. If it's not, we would suggest you talk to your employer, because again, that's the data that they've provided us. And if it's wrong from your perspective, we want to make sure that you're getting paid correctly and the correct amount. So if it's wrong, we might need to have a chat to your employer about updating that. But for all purposes in this scenario, we would hope it's right. So you would select yes. And then it would just calculate what the estimated amount is that you'll be paid for this leave claim.
Hey, Aaron, can I just jump in for a sec?
Please, yes.
Thank you. If you do think the rate of pay is wrong and you select no, you will have to upload pay slips to show what your rate of pay actually is. So the system won't let you submit your form without supporting documentation, and that's because you've said, no, it doesn't look right. So we need to provide some pay slips so that we can review that.
Yeah, good point, Mandy. Thank you. And we will get to a section in the next slide or two about where you can do that. and I'll go through that in a minute. But yeah, good point, Mandy. Thank you very much. Okay, so again, so you've got state long service leave you can claim. You've got portable long service leave you can claim. Make sure that you are claiming the right leave for the right timeframes. And importantly, if you don't want to claim portable long service leave and only claim state long service leave, this section in front of you right now does not have to be completed. So if it's only the leave you're taking from the pre-scheme service, the portable section here does not need to be completed. All right, next bit is around payment frequency. I think this is fairly self-explanatory. In the process of the claim that we're undertaking through the person, the worker wants to take leave, so we're doing the long service leave claim, they have the option of payment frequency that includes fortnightly payments, weekly payments, or even just a lump sum. With those other two claims that we spoke about up front early, when they want to cash out or a termination payment, there is only the single payment option, the lump sum payment option available. So in this scenario where the worker's taking leave, they do have some options to be paid at a different frequency, and generally that means that they might be getting paid similar to what they were getting paid when they're working, or similar kind of payroll payments. I guess it's really up to the individual how they want this to be paid. Some choose fortnightly, some choose weekly. So it really is entirely the worker's decision at this point in time. This is the important part, I think. This is where you want the money to be paid to. So it's a simple BSB account number and account name. Again, make sure the account name is correct. We do have the ability to do a BSB search. So if you're like me, I don't always write things down. I try to remember things, and the older I get, the less I remember. So a BSB search function can come in handy if you're not necessarily got that information on hand. So it's simply just searching for the financial institution, and this one on your page you can see is the Commonwealth Bank. It'll pop up with the BSB number, and it will automatically include that in the BSB criteria. That's it for that section, pretty much. Just make sure, again, you've got the bank account named correctly. We've had instances where people have put like Super Saver or check account nicknames in that account name. Make sure that it's your legal name as the bank has it. We don't want, obviously, funds to bounce back to us and cause delays for workers to get their payments. So we're trying to make sure that we are fairly firm on making sure people get this right the first time. Again, delays cause delays in payments. So this is where the additional comments is available for what Mandy said. If you wanted to upload any documentation to support anything you've selected in your claims process. So like Mandy said, you could upload pay slips here to support your rate of pay if you think it's wrong, or there's really anything that you might, if there's anything that you might think is important for us to be aware of, you can provide some commentary here and let us know what you think we need to know. Alternatively, you can leave it blank. It doesn't need any mandatory fields completed here as well. We're almost done. This is the important part as well. This is where you sign off on your declaration. It's a simple tick the little declaration sign box here, and the date will populate, and then submit your form. So once that's done, your part of it, the worker's part of the claim process, is completed for the time being, and the employer that's been nominated, or the leave where the leave that is being taken from that certain employer, will get an automated message. So, like I said, the workers have done what they need to do at this point in time, and now it slips over to the employer. Now, I know everyone's very busy in this time frame, especially employers with everything else that's going on, and as we get closer to end of financial year as well. So we know that when you get emails advising that you've got something to review or something to look at in your employer portal, that you most likely won't be able to get to it on the day of receiving that advice. I just request that you don't leave it too long. Obviously, we're working with the workers around their claim, and quite often we'll get emails or phone calls from workers wanting an update on where their claim's at. We don't want to have to tell them that it's still waiting for the employer to approve it or provide us with information. It's one less thing for you guys to have to worry about. So if you can make sure that you get to it at a decent time frame, that would be very much appreciated. The other thing just to note is that once the employer has completed their part, and I'll go through exactly what they need to do in a minute, there's about a 3-week turnaround time around the processing of it from our end. As long as everything's been provided, we should be able to meet those timeframes. If the employer approves a salary sacrifice request, that amount will be paid to the employer, so that they can then manage their payment to the salary sacrifice provider. Please only approve this request if you are prepared to handle that payment in this way. So what we found recently is that there was a salary sacrifice payment required to be made. We made that payment. The worker or the employer or both have changed their mind mid-processing and have asked us to not do what they originally asked us to do. So it just means that it becomes a little bit tricky from our end to reverse the process and virtually starting the process again. So it just gets a little bit tricky with how we seek refunds or how we stop the process from that space. So just make sure that as an employer that you are prepared to do the salary sacrifice side of things, and make sure that you're communicating with the worker around that space as well. The other two things that the employer will need to provide is now Mandy, you're going to have to help me here because my mind has gone blank. They have to provide the hourly, no, you tell me, I've gone blank.
The employers have to provide the average hours per week and the current hourly rate of pay. So the average hours per week is based on what it says in the Long Service Leave Act 1987 for when you would be paying long service leave. So it's the workers' average hours per week over the last 3 years from the time of claim. So the day that you fill out the form, you work out what their average hours per week is and pop that in, and then also what their hourly rate is at the time you're filling out the form and pop that in. We know that that's going to be different in many cases to the rate that you put in for an employer liability on the state return, and that's fine. That's how it's supposed to be.
Thanks, Mandy. Not sure why I went blank then. That's exactly how I would have said it, word for word. All right, so once all of that's been done and you've approved the claim, the whole claim is tracked through the worker portal. So the worker will be able to see exactly where the claim's at, and we'll handle everything from that point onwards right up to the payment side of things, which is exactly how the online process should work to make it a lot more simpler for everyone. When we first started the chat today, we talked about those other two claim types, the cash out in lieu of taking leave and the termination payment. So the cash out claim is similar, or it has a similar form, but there's no leave dates. Just have to select the days to cash out and the preferred payment date. My understanding is that we have a payroll run every Wednesday of each week. So we will generally align our payments on a Wednesday. I don't believe there's any other options at this point in time, so that's just something to be aware of. And the termination payment is even easier. It's a full balance payout. We don't need any dates. The one thing that just to note is that we can't process the claim until the worker has left the sector completely. We'll work with the employer to gather all the information, calculate all those entitlements to the last workday, which means that there might be a little bit extra work for us to do to make sure that we're getting it correct, but it's a pretty simple form to complete. So make sure that, I guess from a worker's perspective, they're selecting the right claim type up front. Again, and I hate to be repeating myself so many times, that if there's a change of mind or an error during the claim or with the claim itself, and the worker wants to change, it does just delay the processing timeframes, and they won't get their money as early or as on time as they expect. This page is all about obviously the 7-day week basis. So long service leave, 1 week off equals 7 days. I'm not going to go on too much more about this. 2 weeks off, 14 days, 4 weeks off, 28 days. Simple maths. For a cash out, 14 days equals a full fortnight's pay, things like that. So we're seeing quite often a lot of common mistakes in this space. People don't understand the calendar day concept. They select the days that they think they want off on the claim form, and they're not realizing that it is based on calendar days. So we've taken it on ourselves to be quite open around what this means for everyone. So we're sharing this fairly regularly and fairly consistency as well, so people know exactly what's going on. So if they've got any questions, or workers, or as an employer, you've got any questions, please let us know. Which leads me on to all of the resources that we have available for everyone on our website. We've got, I think, 6 different toolkits available, or information sheets available on our website, with 2 or 3 information sheets in each toolkit. They will walk you through each step of the process. They'll walk you through registrations, worker setups, returns, even levy payments. We've got these obviously webinars like today that we record and we'll put on our website. So every one of the webinars that we've held, even if it's the same webinar theme and topic, we might have 6 different sessions or 6 different versions of that. Each of them will be recorded and put on our website for you to look back on. We've heard that people like to look back on them and pause the video or the webinar in certain spots so they can really digest what's been said, or just make me look like I've got a funny face on me. But yeah, so they're all available for you. We have FAQs for employers and for workers on our website. And lastly, but not least, we have a team of customer service officers that are available to take your phone call or respond to your email. We've also got some registrations officers as well that can help you through the registration process as well if you need time or help in that space. So all of the resources that we've provided over the last 8 or 10 months or so really essentially comes down to trying to support everyone to get through what they need to get through and to understand it. We didn't want you to be left to your own devices and try and figure it out yourself. So what we've done is try to provide as much detail and multiple ways for you to get support and whenever you need it. Really, it comes to the end of my slides. I feel like I've waffled on a little bit more than I would normally, so apologies for that. Today, you'll see, on that slide, you'll see a QR code which will take you directly to our website if you haven't already got it bookmarked. We we consistently post on both of our social media platforms, on LinkedIn and Facebook, around reminders or what news or any changes to policy or process. Advertise our webinars and support sessions on there as well. So give us a follow on both of those platforms, and then take a look around the website if you haven't already done that. That's really it for me. I know at this point in time, I generally hand over to Mandy, who has been responding to your questions on the chat whilst filling in for words that I can't remember. So thank you for that, Mandy. How are we looking in the chat? How's everything looking?
Pretty quiet today. Yeah, we were just talking about the processing times. Often we can process claims faster than 3 weeks. Sometimes they take a little bit longer. So that is just a guide. We just want to make sure that everyone's aware that it can take a little bit of time, but it always relies on getting all the information that we need to process the claim, and how long it takes to get that information and to verify that it's all correct. So if we can have all that correct information, it's really quick and fast. If we don't have all the correct information, it's going to take a little bit longer. And the other thing was about taking single days of leave, which you can't do because the minimum period is 1 week. So apart from, I can see Julie's typing something now, that's pretty much all we've been talking about today.
Thank you. Whilst we're waiting for Julie to put her important question in, does anyone have a question that they want to ask while we're waiting? I'm not going to jump on you, promise.
So Julie's question was about Fair Work turnaround of termination payment. So when you do a termination payment, so if someone finishes working for you, you're going to pay out any other leave they have, but not long service leave. The rules about making sure that you're paying it out on the day or whatever don't apply under portable long service leave. It's a different legislation. So you're not required to pay out long service leave on termination. We do that upon claim. So it's a different kind of process. As long as you're managing the other leave payouts on termination, you're all good.
Yeah, so a really important message there is that the long service leave side of things sits with us. So it doesn't necessarily sit as your responsibility in that space. So you do what you would normally do minus the long service leave, and we'll take care of that long service leave side of it.
It's also important to remember that we don't just pay it out when the person terminates from the sector. They do need to request that payment. People don't have to take a payment as soon as they finish in the sector either. Sometimes they're not sure what they want to do, if they want to take a break and then go back to the sector. Sometimes they just don't need the money. Sometimes they're looking at their taxation for the year and they went, oh, that payout's not going to be helpful for me. They can claim that payout whenever they're ready to. So they'll submit the claim form to us and that's when we'll start processing it. There's no reason why it needs to be immediately upon terminating if that's not what they want.
Yeah, and that's a really important thing to make as well. There are rules around moving in and out of the scheme as well, which we haven't really talked about today. But if someone does resign from a workplace and wants to stay in the sector, they do have the ability to move in and out of the scheme as well. So that portable long service leave is available to them if they do dip back into the sector at some point.
And so the eligible service before the scheme commences, it's the same. So what the worker will do is they'll apply to us when they're ready to claim that. And that's when we'll contact you and say, hey, the worker's claiming it. Let's get that resolved now. Up until that point, if you hold a liability for their long service leave entitlement, so if they've remained with you for at least 7 years, including some pre-scheme time, then yeah, you do have to hold that pre-scheme money for them until they're ready to claim it. If they had not accrued, if they have accrued 7 years when the scheme starts, then you've already worked out what that employer liability was at 30 September, so you know exactly how much it's going to be. If they didn't have 7 years when the scheme started, but they did reach the 7 years after the scheme starts, you work out what your liability would have been on their last day of work. So their rate of pay on their last day of work and how many weeks of leave you would have had to pay them out for. And then that's going to be your liability. That's what we're going to invoice you for as well when they make a claim.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you for that. Nikki, brave Nikki. We can't hear you though, you're on mute though.
Sorry, I was going to type it all and then I thought it's kind of been half answered. So essentially then in our payroll systems, we'll be looking to turn off the automated, payout of long service leave for South Australia for anyone that reaches their term and terminates with us, because they'll then need to claim it through you, won't they? Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep.
Otherwise that could accidentally get paid out as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
cool.
Thanks, Nikki.
Thank you.
No, all good. Anyone else got any questions? If you don't, I'm more than happy to give you a little bit of time back into your day. But I guess the other thing is that you might not think of something right now and you'll think of something later on, which is absolutely fine. So that's where our customer service team comes into it. If you want to ring them or if you want to send them an email with any questions that you have that even might be specific to your scenario as well, send them through. Yeah. So, but look, if we haven't got any more questions, let's call it a day. We'll leave it at that. But I just want to thank you so much for joining us today. I think this is our sixth session on the online claims process. We'll generally do these, I guess I wouldn't say regularly, but we'll do them throughout the year just to make sure that the familiarity feels right for everyone, just so they know exactly what's going on, especially with new people coming into the sector or new workforce people as well. So we'll keep doing them and go from there. Before I close the door on everyone, I assume that there's no more questions. Excellent. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Have a great rest of the week. And again, reach out if you've got any questions. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so
See ya.
much.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Bye-bye.